Hello, welcome to the very first Unravelled, your Game of Wool companion show. Lizzie, hiya.
Hi. Hey, Stuart.
Go
Off
on.
the bat, we didn't confer, but I like the fact that we're both showing up in our
Of
tanks for
course,
week
of
one.
course.
We
I've got,
did
I've got so many. I didn't know which one to choose. What about you?
well. This one I love, and I haven't worn it for a while, and I put it on this morning, and I just thought, oh, I love this outfit.
Oh,
So, but I didn't. I kind of hadn't made the connection. But we've both gone tanks. How appropriate.
absolutely. We had
Week
to.
one game of wool. We're in.
And what we'll try and do in the description below, we will put links to what we are wearing and, if possible, even yarn where you can go and buy it and source it from. But we'll talk more about that later. But yes, episode one aired Sunday, 8 p.m. and many of you were watching. In fact, Lizzie, many people across the world are watching due to the wonders of technology and VPNs. People in America were watching, people in Australia were watching and logging in, all legally, to watch it. So very exciting. And we've been talking about it for, I want to say a couple of months now, but we're finally
Yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah.
Now, viewers, you might just have to bear with us because the format for Sewing Bee, me and Ting had been doing over 6 years and had developed it. And we're now in our first stage with Unravelled. So we've got some slides put together and we've got the screenshots. How cool is that, Lizzie? We've got pictures to show everyone.
Amazing. Look great.
And we'll see how this format develops and grows over the next 8 weeks.
It's the first time, isn't it? So
It is.
we're all just figuring it out, aren't we, as we go
Absolutely.
along?
So should we meet the contestants?
Yeah, go on.
Here is the class of 2025. In alphabetical order, we've got Ailsa, Dipti, Gordon. Then we've got Holger, Isaac, Lydia, Meadow, and then Simon, Stephanie, and Tracy. What did you think from meeting them when you first watched that episode yesterday, Lizzie?
I just thought that it's a really nice range of people. I'm looking across them all now. It's funny, isn't it? Because in that first episode, we mentioned this before, there's all those people and there just aren't the minutes to go to give to everybody because they've got to set the show up, they've got to announce the premise. So I was just really trying to get a little glimpse of what their characters were. But I think yeah, even in the first episode, some of those characters were progressing through the minutes, and you think, I think I quite like them, or
Yeah.
I chime with their style or whatever. But we only got little tiny glimpses, didn't we?
We did.
Really?
We did. And this is the hard thing, isn't it? We're talking commercial telly. And I
Yes.
have to say, Lizzie, I haven't watched commercial telly live for a very long while. I forgot how
No,
annoying those
same.
ads are.
That's a little sort of loo break, isn't it?
It
The
is.
old-fashioned way of doing telly.
It's not an hour at all. If anything, it's 45 minutes. And I remember from the Sewing Bee on those first 2 weeks, they normally talk through 6 one week and 6 the other with the backstories. But there's really no time for any of that, is there? With commercial
No.
TV, and it was a couple of lines, a picture, and then boom, move on. But
Yeah, that was it. Very, very little, very
yeah.
little.
But sometimes those snapshots are actually better because you're like, who am I going to like and who are you going to latch on to? Well, for me, it was Stephanie because of her laugh and her bubbly enthusiasm and
Oh.
wanting a cup of tea all the time.
Well, that's interesting because I just thought, crikey, if I was in the yarn barn, I think that energy, she's very confident, very positive, and I know for a fact that I just probably would have been terrified. So I
Yeah.
think I think I I probably would have gone and sat on the other end of the sofa from Ailsa and just we might have chatted a little bit, but the nerves, I just yeah, she was all the energy
Yeah.
and actually I really liked her confidence, except that I just don't think I would have coped very well
No.
face to face because I'd be too scared.
Well, they went straight into it, didn't they? They didn't hang around. They couldn't. There
No.
was a brief chatter, but then Tom introduced the yarn barn and the area that we looked at from those Instagram pictures last week that they revealed, and it. I remember we were saying it looks cozy, but actually, as the episode progressed, it almost looked quite small and a bit too snug, like no room to breathe. So I felt a bit claustrophobic after a while in that little room. Because
tiny.
at least with you and your sewing bee, I know you had that big building and that floor, but you had your own personal space. Each week you had your same base, didn't you, with your sewing area?
Well, they moved us around the different desks, but that I have to say, especially in week one, where there was a point where it was just super sensory, sort of a little bit overload.
Yeah.
And I just kind of retreated into my own little space behind my machine at my ironing board. But they didn't. I mean, the thing is, though, as we've said before, the first challenge, 12 hours, that was pretty much condensed into 12 minutes.
Wasn't it?
And I just think there must have been, for them, there must have been quite long periods of time where they're just quietly getting on with it. And they probably did have a nice chill time, actually. Although it's stressful because, you've just got to crack on and do it. But 12 hours, let's not forget that. And you know when they first walked in, when they opened the doors and they all walked in, you can tell that was a genuine moment of it's the first time they've seen. And they did that to us as well because they want to capture those genuine reactions of oh my word, look at it, oh it's just so lovely. And I feel, I mean, I don't know if they did a couple of takes, but with us it was definitely this is the first time. And then when the judges and Tom came in and Tom said, I'm Tom, you could tell it was like, yeah, bless.
Oh, I know.
We know you're Tom. But they were all just meeting for the first time.
But certainly those settees and how they laid them out, and as the episode progressed, and then going into that haberdashery section, we finally got a proper good view of that haberdashery and all that yarn.
All that chubs.
Chubs and what was the other one? The Rowan Big Wool, wasn't it? Yeah.
Big Wool, probably.
Beautiful merino. But there we are. Let's go into it because we've got two challenges. We did say that was confirmed. We have the first challenge, which was the individual challenge, and then the team challenge. Now, isn't that interesting? I actually thought, from a production point of view, you would have started off with the team challenge and then finished off with the more serious individual challenge. But they had got it the other way around. And I was like, I never thought about that. Did you think of the layout at all of which one would be first?
I just thought my sense was, how are you going to help everyone just settle down, settle the nerves a bit? And if you went straight into a team challenge with people who just don't know each other,
right, then
it could just literally unravel before the first project's over. So actually, I felt like it was okay to just give them something they can just do. Most of them will achieve it. They're responsible for themselves and then move on as they've had time to just get to know one another a little bit, then go into a team challenge. That made sense to me.
Yeah. And now I've seen it in that structure, I can completely agree. And ending with the light-hearted team challenge, which the pressure is off a bit and it's a bit more fun, would it make a nice end to the hour show too? So yes, I do agree. Let us know on your thoughts about that in the comments if you ever saw which particular round first. But let's go into it. So the wee knit. So I've done my usual. I've written it all down. So they introduced the challenge, Tom with the judges, and in the original concept, they called it the wee knit. I didn't see that terminology around or not. They kind of called it the individual challenge, and then they had a screenshot with the Fair Isle challenge. So we'll keep it as the wee knit as the first challenge and the big knit as the second challenge. But yes, they called it the Fair Isle challenge. And boy, what a challenge to start with. They had to reimagine a Fair Isle and make a tank top. So Di said she wants them to make it their own story and to use the Fair Isle technique to define who they are. And Sheila then said they are looking for key elements. They'll be looking for repeating patterns, the piries and the motifs, which is classic out of Fair Isle. Those motifs that repeat across the line and then they might repeat further up. And then we had the lovely footage like we often get with the sewing bee, didn't we? With Tom explaining how they were going to do it. They were going to knit in the round, starting at the bottom. Yes. So bottom up, going up to the armholes, and then split to go flat. So they would go flat and do the front, and then they would do flat and do the back, and then a classic 3-needle bind off, or whichever one they were to do. So a mixture of creative and technical. Now, we don't get in the like the sewing bee, we have that lovely group shot of you all standing by your mannequins and your finished makes. Well, we didn't have that. So I've kind of botched something together. So here are all the tank tops, Lizzie. All 10 of them. Look at that.
They look really good together. And that's like you say, we didn't get that shot.
No.
And actually, I know individually a few of them had what they felt were disasters or they were disappointed because they didn't finish or whatever. But actually, when you look at the amount of work that's gone into those, it's just lovely, isn't it? Isn't that just a great shot? Isn't
it just? And hopefully they might change that as the series goes on, because I think that's important to see them all together with the person by there. But yes, look at that work. 12 hours of work, Lizzie. I could not do that. That is phenomenal knitting. That.
How many is it? 10?
10 makers, 12 hours worth of work.
120 hours of work, Stuart. I mean, it's amazing though. And I love, what I really like about seeing them like this is that you can sort of compare and contrast. For example, I think we separately have chatted about, so for example...
Go on. Yeah, I'll highlight it on my pen.
The one with the trees and the scissors and the tassels at the top.
Yeah,
and then you look at it compared to Ailsa's and the way that they've brought out their motif, the little illustrations, is quite different because you've got the main thing that jumps out on Tracy's is that bright yellow stripe. Yeah. But that's almost like a framing sort of grounding device for her more subtle colour palette for the motif. But if you look at Ailsa's, the thing that jumps out from a mile away is the really big contrast of the black dog on the cream coloured yarn. So it's quite interesting. You can actually compare, and then you look at someone like Isaac with his geese, and how actually those colours are fairly sort of subtle, except for the pop of orange. But if you look at his colour work above and below it, it's really quite dynamic. I really like seeing them like this because you can look and just think, oh, if I was doing it, which sort of technique would I like? Would I, and it helps you choose colour palettes and isn't it great?
Oh, it is. And I think I would definitely, if I was there, I would have gone for less is more. So I would have perhaps done a Holger or an Ailsa at the top. I would have had a lot of solid, so I could just knit and not worry, and then have a very small motif and a piri to make it mixture of the competition, but also make it doable. So I think I would have gone down that route. But then you look at Lydia. Look at all that colour work.
It's incredible. So I just think that was another thing, being able to see them all like this. There's the ones that are more complete in terms of having something like a rib and armholes. They have got these areas where they've just managed to just knit in one colour and they've confined the colour work to a smaller space. Even Tracy's clever because it looks like hers is quite complicated, but she has got these bands where she's just been able to get 5 centimetres. Yeah. Sorry, not Tracy, Stephanie.
Oh, Stephanie. I beg your pardon.
Stephanie, where she's it's sort of deceptive because she's interspersed with bands of solid color, but actually, because she's broken it up, it looks like it's more complicated. But this is the amazing thing is Lydia's there with all that Kenty cloth in chunky knit. I mean, there's barely a row in there that is
Yeah.
repeated. You know, she's done something different
Yeah.
every row, and the fact that she's done it, completed it, finished it is just, that's noteworthy, I think. So well
Yeah.
done, Lydia.
Okay, well, let's just have a look at two or three in detail, and we'll cut to a bigger close-up picture of them and have a look. Okay, let's start with
Great.
Gordon, who
Oh, Gordon!
we kind of knew in the edit it was either going to be brilliant or not so brilliant because of steeking, and they really highlighted that Gordon's going to be steeking. He's the only one going to be steeking. So we were just, it was going to be one or the other, wasn't it?
Yes, but let's just put the steeking to one side for a sec. I really like that colour work across the
Yeah,
chest.
absolutely. Yeah,
If he
look
was
how
doing
neat.
piano keys along the bottom, maybe he could have made it a bit more obviously piano. And is that some sort of pocket that he was going for? This
I
is
know.
classic. This is a classic case of, and I can completely relate to it. You just want to show the judges what you're capable of, and you forget that, as my lovely friend Vanda used to say to me, all you've got to do is finish, Lizzie. And and I just would forget that that's the number one aim. And I just think, right, this challenge, I'm going to show the judges I can do this, and this. And
Oh,
then you sort of, and there's a point during where you just think, I don't know what I'm doing because everything I thought I was aiming for was just really stupid and unwise. But I'm just going to keep going. So bless him,
I know.
Gordon. I mean, you can tell he can obviously knit, and that's a
Yes. Yeah.
lovely, lovely design, lovely color
Yeah.
palette. He's got a pocket going on in there. I just really felt for him steaking. Good grief. I mean, yeah, I bet he just will never be able to say the word again without being triggered.
What what I found interesting in this whole section when they were doing the seeking is Tom. I've never heard this phrase. Had you? Tom goes, "You can't spell steak without spelling eek," and I was like, "I like that." Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't. I
No.
haven't. I haven't heard that
Well, there you go.
before,
You're going
but
to be using it
yeah.
now. But very, very
Oh,
brave.
I just,
And
yeah,
do you
just
know,
keep going for
Gordon,
him.
great telly for us because the producers would have lapped onto that, which they did. We had the whole dramatic moment, apparently with only 10 minutes left. he
Oh,
was sneaking with his scissors and his hands were
did you
shaking.
see
And
his
we,
hands
I
are
know.
really?
And
Oh,
we cut to real dramatic music, of like tension. It's like, oh my God, it's either going to be brilliant or it's not.
oh,
Oh.
bless him.
So
But you
Gordon,
know
thank
what
you
I
for that.
loved? I loved that Gordon took it with such good
Yeah.
humour, and he didn't have a hissy fit, or
No.
he just bless him. I
Yeah.
think I'll remember Gordon. I mean, it's no one wants to be the first one to
No.
go out, let alone on the first series. So Gordon, bless you.
But if you're going to go out, you're going to go out in style and go out on a technique that is often regarded as a very high end knitting technique, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
and let's face it, that might have been something that they'd reserved for one of the final weeks.
Yeah,
Not the
absolutely.
first
And
challenge.
and trying to do a pocket too.
I'm trying to do a
God,
pocket. How many stitch holders have we got going on
I
there?
know.
Gordon, come
I
on.
know. Oh dear. Thank you, Gordon, for that. Though, as you say, his stitching actually makes Chunky look quite tiny because the detail of those little V
Yeah.
stitches are quite amazing.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a really good point.
It looks really small, doesn't it?
It does. I wonder if he was using the same yarn. Does he like? Hang on a sec.
I think he might have used a chunky rather than a super chunky because most people were using super chunky.
This
Yeah, that's a
about it
chunky.
look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he might have been using because we saw there were two main brands. There was, as you said, the Chubbs World of Wool, and then Rowan
There's
Big
a
Wool.
row
But
of
Rowan
big
Big Wool
ones.
is super chunky. I think
Really?
he might have done
Yeah.
that on chunky.
Yeah. And if he had a bigger stitch count,
Yeah, Yeah.
which it looks like it's not so tight fitting as well.
No,
So it's even a bigger stitch count.
there's a bit of
Yeah,
excess here, isn't there?
I know, and I just wonder if that's one of the things that sort of
Yeah. All right.
yeah. Whose was this one?
This one's Ailsa. No,
Oh yeah,
this is where, and I know we shouldn't compare, but this is where you look at the production values, and we look at Sewing Bee, and we look
yeah,
at Bake Off. This is where I think you realise how good Sewing Bee is with giving us information, because we
yeah,
cut to the finished make in Sewing Bee, whether it's the pattern challenge or the transformation challenge. You always cut and you always have their name underneath, so we
yeah,
know, don't we? And those
yeah,
little things I kind of like missed from this production so far. We're only on episode
yeah.
one. That might change as it goes on, but I was like, oh, who's this, because if you're just visually looking at it or not fully concentrating, it's kind of nice to have those names. And that's where
Yes,
you realize how good the Sewing Bee is with those, those shots where they put them on the model, and
yeah,
you see right round
yeah.
them.
Let's face it, those Stuart, they've had quite a long time to really, really refine that
Yes.
process, haven't they?
Yeah,
So,
true. So,
oh,
so this is Ailsa's. She was inspired by a day in the life with a dog Brillo, blues and waves, and the dog motif. But she didn't just do that. Look what else she created too. Do you
I
want to see these
know.
pictures?
Yeah, I loved it. I fell in love with Elsa right from the beginning.
The porthole on the
Yeah,
back,
really,
and
really
then
sweet.
the necktie
Little
too.
bow, really
It
sweet.
blew us away, didn't it?
Yeah, it's just so lovely. Yeah, there's something so quietly sort of what's the word? It's just quietly beautiful,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Everything about it. The close up. I got a close up here, because it just. I can't. Don't know whether you can see it there, but this is where I'm thinking they might have used their own patterns, because I was looking closely at the neck. Can you see those lovely stitch decreases?
I know.
And then you get that lovely runner, that train track of the two leaning, left leaning or right leaning stitches as they go up there. And
Yeah.
that's a feature, I think, of a really good V-neck. Where you're
Well,
casting
she's
off,
just
or your
yeah.
decreases are 2 or 3 stitches before the end, so then you get this lovely run, and that is so clearly visible on that pattern. And then look at the pickup; you get this beautiful pickup of the rib, Lizzie. It's
Yeah.
just stunning, isn't it?
Yeah. She's just in the zone, isn't she? And she just had a clear vision and she just made it happen. And can we go back and see? Yeah, so she didn't overcomplicate the design either. I mean, I know there's that the dog must, there's again something different going on every line, but she's got that lovely bit at the top where she could just concentrate
Yeah,
on the shaping.
yeah.
There's no color work up there,
And
and
that's good thinking, isn't it? Get the colour work out the way when you're in the
yeah,
round, going round and round and round, and when you go to straight to do the front and back, you just want stockings, your classic stocking stitch, and no colour work at all. That's just
but you
clever,
see that,
clever for
yeah,
time.
and how she's done the color. So the motif, like no, what was it? The trees and the scissors of Tracy's, is just another interesting take on make your motif pop with the
Yeah,
black and white, and the Peries are these lovely sort of calm. They're not the dominant thing that pops out from a distance, but it's just a different way to do it, isn't it? I love this one, and I think I was slightly with Di. Do you think do you think Di, when she shed a bit of a tear, she was like so relieved that someone had done
done.
done
Because it must be hard. You have no idea really if 12 hours is going to be enough. If anyone can
no.
create this in 12 hours, you are asking so much. I'm just trying to think how 12 hours is filmed, Lizzie. How are they? Are they? Are they doing 5 hours, say, on a Saturday afternoon, go home to your hotel, and then do another 5 hours on Sunday? You're not going to do 12 hours in one day, are you? You must know. You can
No,
give us the
well,
insight on
we
that.
so our longest challenges were 5 hours for made to measures, and we would go in. because you have a little bit of filming prep before you start the challenge. And then once you start the challenge, we would have 3 hours or 2.5 hours, and then we'd break for lunch, and then you'd go back in and finish the
Right.
challenge.
Yeah.
And so I just think probably there's no way they would have done it all in one
No,
day.
no.
I mean, let's face it, if you're a knitter, excuse me, you may well get up and have a little, do a few rows with a cup of tea in the morning, and then given half a chance, you just carry on. But I think because it's basically pressured conditions, they're not going to do 12 hours in one
No.
day, surely.
And it makes you then think. So that's then split 5 and 5. That's
Or
for one
or
challenge. That's 2 days for just two challenges alone, isn't it?
Or what
Three
they might
days.
do is like do 3 hours or 3.5 hours morning and evening, morning and afternoon day one,
Yeah.
finish it off the next day, and then they've got time to do
For
the
the
team challenge.
yeah.
So yeah.
It's going to be fascinating to see. Let's go back just to see the last few.
Oh, I thought this was so sweet. I just wish that he'd finished his
I know.
his armholes, but I just thought it was so
The
cute.
colours, Sierra Leone. It was based on the Sierra Leone flag, from where he's from and his
Love it. Love
family.
the palette that he's used and the little pops of orange that
Yeah.
stick out, the
And then the
geese.
geese,
But
because they called him, all his family and his girlfriend called him Silly Goose. So that's the
yeah.
reasoning behind that geese
But also,
motif there.
this is another one where I mean they really do stand
They
out.
do, don't they?
But this is another one where there is something different going on almost every single
Yeah,
line, all the way up to the top. So he gave himself a real, there wasn't any part of this garment where he could just get in a flow and
yeah,
just, just knit, 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 knit.
yeah.
And so I think maybe that shows where he hasn't quite had time to do the ribbing at the end.
Yeah, so he couldn't do the neck and the arm, but then that's when you think, well, yeah, I can understand now because you've got all that color work, one by one color work, two by two. It's constantly. I suppose if you were a continental and an English, and you hold both strands like that. That probably is doable, but what happens if you're not and you're old school? You drop the yarn, pick up the new yarn with your right hand. That's going to slow you down immensely, isn't it?
Yeah, but then I can't remember what he did. He was, yeah. I think I think it's just if you sort of look at the sweep of all the tanks that we've seen,
Yeah,
the ones that finished were the ones that gave themselves a little bit of
yeah,
just knit, just
yeah,
knit, knit, knit with no color work. Because they're all going to have been chosen because they can knit quick enough
yeah.
within the time, aren't they? I suspect.
Oh,
So
and a good example of what you just said is next is Holger, where you can see
yes,
again. So clever idea, giving himself
yeah,
a lot of solid knitting in the blue
yes.
and the white.
Beautiful, beautiful section in that middle
It
that
is.
middle piece, isn't it? It's
It
really
is
nice.
very, very clever. It really pops. But that's the thing with the criteria, though, isn't it, Lizzie? They didn't say you need from top to bottom covered in Fair Isle. Their instruction was a reimagining of Fair Isle, and you just had to use a motif and a period. They didn't say how much. So this
Yeah,
is
but
actually a very clever idea, isn't it?
what's the motif though?
The motif is a good question. Holger was inspired by where's my blurbs? By the chicken, which was a previous project. If I listened to that correctly, so is oh that's a good point. What is the motif? Is the chicken in the motif? Oh, you caught me there.
There's not overt in the way that lots of the others are.
No,
Like there's no design,
and this
like
wasn't.
a illustration.
And it wasn't picked out in the judging criteria when they talked about it. In fact, I think they just said, wow, how cool it was. And then that was it, wasn't it? Oh, no, they didn't. They criticised it because it wasn't finished. Beg your pardon.
Wasn't finished. And
Poor
he was
old Olga.
upset about that. He was
Yes.
upset because you can tell he
Yeah.
clearly is a very sort of precise
Oh, God,
and
yes. Yeah.
finish. You can
Yeah.
tell finishing is something that he really, look at that neckband,
Yeah.
and it must have really hurt him not to finish that beautifully.
I've got a close up look at that. Look at that.
Oh,
Again, you've got that
Well done,
lovely
Morgan.
decrease line going up, so
Yeah.
that's neat. But look at that, and the
It's
idea of
just,
that going into garter from to stop the rib, you're going into garter there. It just that made that collar when you look at it.
yeah, it's beautiful. Really,
It's
really
not too
nicely
heavy
done.
at all because sometimes rib can overpower on the neck. I find.
Yeah, it just lifts it a little bit, doesn't it?
But look at that! Look at that decrease going up. That beautiful tram line going up. That's where I think you can always tell a great V-neck pattern there. But you're right. I don't know what the motif was, and that was glossed over. Maybe viewers will point that out to us. But what also I thought was good about this, the two blocks. You got the blue and the white.
Yes.
It
Yes.
actually helps with that textural garter ridges in the middle of it. It just breaks it up, even though it's the same colour.
Does.
That's a very clever design concept too, don't you think?
I think that's really, yeah, it's sort of, it's almost like there's a sort of, it's like bouncing on the ocean, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you've got the sky above and yeah.
And our last one is Dipti. She'd
Yeah,
never done
the
Fair
neck,
Isle
bless
before,
her.
she said. Can you believe that? And not many people. There are probably loads of knitters who've never done Fair Isle before because it's not their cup of tea. But she loves stuffed toys. She got loads of stuffed toys around the house, and there was this
Yeah.
one bunny, the favourite toy. And you've got the bunny there. You've got the white ears,
Yeah.
and look at that lovely
Oh, I
pink fluffy tail.
see.
Yeah,
See, I was reading that the other way
yeah,
round, and I was looking at the
the
blue as
blue,
being
which
like
looks
a
like
tulip or something.
yeah. And that's, as I say, the skill of colour work, where the blue is too powerful.
Yeah,
Maybe if you had a block of white or a lighter colour there and there, it might make the white pop out, but it's difficult to get your eye in. But once you got your eye in, you can see the
I
bunny
can
in his
see
lovely
it.
little ears.
Yeah. Oh, bless her. I did feel for her though, that you could tell the stress was just piling up a bit, and that little that moment where she sort of Tom went over to try and be friendly, and she not now,
Yeah,
can't do it now.
yes.
And he sort of pulled that face like, oh gosh, bless her. I completely relate to that. You're just on the home straight. You just need to bring it in to get something on the mannequin. Bless her. But that lower bit, the hearts and the
Yeah.
bunnies, they look great. Yeah. But just the finishing of it would have
Yeah.
made that, I think.
Because it did go over his head, and that's where she got pulled up on the judges. But it
Oh
fits on the
dear.
mannequin. So this is where I was my only little bit of a niggle of the show was that judging, and like, well, it was lovely to see Tom and have him wearing it. I just felt a little bit uncomfortable there. If that was me, I'm
I
looking
know.
straight at Tom, very close with him wearing my knit, and I've got the judges either side looking at it. I
I
just felt
know.
maybe that should have just been on a mannequin, because a lot of the shots that they then cut to were us looking at the mannequin, because that's easier to criticise
It
something on a
is.
mannequin than looking at Tom and it all being a bit too close. But as you can see, it did
And
fit there because it went on the
yeah.
mannequin, but it didn't fit on the head. And I was like, well, was that part of the criteria? Should that have been part of the criteria? Was that maybe a bit harsh
What that
to
it
say it
fitted.
didn't go over his head, but it went over the mannequin?
I think as a basic rule, a garment that fits is actually, I mean, that's a big tick. So, but I think it added to the sort of entertainment, the fact that he
Yes.
couldn't fit it on. But actually, in terms of, there's a bit of humiliation going on there that was probably unnecessary, I
Yeah.
think. And so, that's something to be a bit careful about, I think. Just don't be mean. Don't be mean to these contestants. Dipti knows it doesn't
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
She's probably mortified. Don't make it like Laurel and Hardy, the fact that Tom can't
Yeah.
fit it over his
And
head.
we've often
I think
said,
that was a bit
yeah,
mean.
we've often said that with so me, haven't we? And how you feel when you're judged, but also then down to the criteria. But what I found interesting, Lizzie, is we had no rank order. That was it. They just then
I know.
went straight on. Is Is that something we're going to perhaps see for the future? Does that mean they're not interested in rank order? It's not part of the show?
It's funny, isn't it? Because the world of knitting, I don't know, that's a good question. Because it was all, because this is where sewing bee does get criticized because people are ranked over very subjective
Yeah.
things. Like people say, all Esme says is, I don't like those
Yeah.
colours, or
Yes.
but
Yeah.
actually, where it's so subjective, and all those
Yeah.
stories were so sort of personal,
Absolutely.
and so maybe actually there was a clear winner. There was one that was beautifully finished. The concept worked really well, and it was well communicated. But they didn't really, they didn't really give us like even if they had three overt criteria, does the motif stand out? Is it finished? And is it a really good complementary color palette, or does it show off the main features of a Fair Isle design? Something like that. So, but I think implicitly it was all being judged on those things,
Yes.
really.
Yes.
And they
But
don't need to rank everybody necessarily because you can see there's maybe one or two in contention for the winner. I don't know.
well, that's how I feel. I think are they going? Are they going right? This is our moment to step away from the usual sewing bee pottery throwdown bake-off model. We aren't going to rank because we don't want to rank because we're going to judge them in a more informal way. But there is something to be said about the viewer. We talked about this, and I remember Ting saying way back with watching Strictly, which is where that whole slipper idea came from. You as a viewer have your own opinions and you go, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Oh,
I
that was
don't
better
like
than
that.
that. So we
Yeah.
like to rank, and then we like to then see what the judges say and then go, oh, I don't agree with that. Or, oh, yes, that Patrick's got that completely right. And is that an element of the show? So should that be in there? Because we at home are expecting that. Because now that's
Yeah.
a definite. They've definitely said we're not ranking. That's how it feels. So, but
Yeah.
do we want that? It will be interesting to see what the viewers say at home, whether they missed that
It
ranking
will.
or whether it was refreshing not to have any ranking.
Let's see if we get some comments about that.
Yeah. Right, let's go to round two. There's two challenges each week, and that is the big knit, the team knit. And
Right.
we were very intrigued about this, on how they were going to do it. We had some great chats over the last couple of months on are they going to have to vote someone out, the worst knitter of the team. So it's going to be an eye opener. So let's go into it. Go to my book here, the big knit. It's a team challenge, and they were set a challenge of making a fitted sofa cover using chunky yarn. Cut to Holger and an eye roll.
Poor old Holger.
I know. Di said you could use as much colour as you want or as little colour. And then it went to Sheila to say we're looking for a cohesive design concept and want the best possible practical fit. All parts of the sofa must be covered. And then it finished off with Di going, when we walk into the room, we want to go, wow. I found this interesting. Is this a sewing bee nod? They told the judges that they had to leave because it was going to be judged blind. So therefore, they're saying the end result is more important than the process. I don't know how I felt with that, because if they're going to then send someone home, how did they... Well, they're not going to know perhaps who contributed or who came up with that and who did all that bit. So I don't know how I felt with that. What do you think? What's your position of the judges not being there and then obviously assessing the end product?
Yeah, I agree. And I think having a team challenge is fine because it gets a lot done in a shorter space of time. But I think it would have been great to just have the judges milling about a little bit so that they could just see who's contributing what sort of thing. But then it really was it a thing that the somebody was sent home from the losing team?
No, it was never discussed.
It wasn't
There
even
was
that,
there
was
was
it?
nothing there. So when
So
we
it
had
was
our fun idea
only
about the losing team and one member going home from that, that's what we originally said. No, nothing like that
no.
whatsoever.
So it was only in the end. It only went on that first challenge. So you
That's how it
sort of
felt
think,
like. It certainly
what's
felt
the
like that,
point of
didn't
the
it?
team challenge?
I know.
You kind of want it to count for more,
Yeah.
don't you? Unless it's just, I don't, I mean, it's, yeah, yeah, it's a bit hard to figure that
I
one out,
I
isn't
thought
it?
that unless Tom contributed to the assessment, perhaps Tom said what happened or what went. I know they kind of asked a few questions. They did say, "Oh, whose idea was it to do this?" And then they all pointed at Holger, and then whose idea was it for the sunset? So they were trying to get some idea, but then I just thought, well, why not allow the judges in for that? Then it would save all
I
that
know,
time,
and
wouldn't
just
it?
and actually to well, we'll see if this transpires in future weeks, but it's quite a good uh, opportunity for the judges to get to know the knitters in that time. So they
Yeah.
could have, and I think I would have liked it as a viewer to see them going around saying, "Oh, so Isaac, I notice you're doing massive mega color work for the back of this sofa. Is that your thing then?" And how, and just sort of assess how the others are doing, and are they all playing to their strengths? What are your strengths,
Yes.
Stephanie? And or
Good point.
Dipti, how are you getting on? Do you? But it was sort of in a way. I felt like maybe they missed a trick because it wasn't one thing or the other. You weren't really. We didn't have time to really learn about whose drive went in what direction. I thought there was a little. So this is me, the Lizzie designer, kicking in, having worked in teams in my professional life. I felt like there was a little bit of tension in that they weren't. Somebody would come up with an idea, and then the potential to be offended if no one else wanted that
Yeah.
idea. Maybe that's part of the entertainment, but I just felt like, oh, it's really, oh
Yeah.
gosh, it took me back to days of being at
I
college where,
know.
you know,
Yeah.
everyone's a bit offended if their idea doesn't get
I th-
chosen or,
I think, and we see that on The Apprentice every year, don't we? That exact thing.
yeah.
And I think that might be something that comes up over the next couple of weeks when the teams are still quite big, because ultimately, as we lose members, I don't know how the team challenge is going to work. But anyway, let's go in and have a look. So here are the two concepts. We have two teams. We have team one and team two. They choose the teams based on whatever criteria, we don't know. This is the sunset team, as I've called them. We've got Isaac, Gordon, Meadow, and Tracy and Dipti. And then that's their concept there of this sunset sort of beach scene. Shall we look at their finished version from concept? Ready?
I don't know if I can. Yeah, the key word being cohesive, and it just sadly didn't quite make it, did it, to be cohesive, which is what the judges said. And they had it all held together with pins. You could see
Yeah.
it was all pinned in place, and it wasn't finished and joined up. And I'm not even sure the design itself was
No.
particularly well thought
And,
through.
and, and
I
this
mean, I
is
say I say that. I mean, it's like I don't want to be slagging anyone off because actually to come up with anything
oh
and to for everyone to be committed and get it is
yeah.
amazing. But it's sometimes you don't know how it's going to work till it's at the end and you're
Yeah.
pulling. I mean, how many projects have we both frogged when you get to the end of a project and think, but this is
Absolutely.
this is this is you can't frog and start again.
This this was a hard challenge for cohesive, and I remember Dipti watching her saying sometimes, oh, is this cohesive enough? Are we? Is it going to
Oh,
come
did she say
together?
that?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
when you look at it, it
Oh,
is hard because I suppose the obvious thing, which we'll look at on the other team is this bit going up and up and up might have been the easiest one because it could have just been one long knit. But then here you've got this bit here, or does it go over? So cohesively, it's a difficult thing to get cohesive anyway, isn't it? Because you've got that section, this section, the legs. So it was always going to be a hard task. But this looks like it was literally one person doing that bit, one person doing that bit, one person doing that bit, and then bringing it together was the hardest bit, and it just didn't work.
No, it was all really a bit Is that so? The across the back of the seat pad, is that supposed to be sort of waves?
What here?
Like where the no the yellow sandy
Oh,
bit
there, yeah.
there, is
Yeah,
that meant to be
yeah,
waves crashing on
probably.
the
Yeah,
shore?
there is a nice back shot actually of it where there was some more embellishments going on. Can you see the
Okay, the little starfish and
starfish and
things.
things there? But yes, I think
Yeah.
they did struggle. Let's have a look at team two, and then we'll
Yeah.
we'll end up putting them close together, and then we'll see. So here's team two, which is Simon, Lydia, Stephanie, Holger, and Elsa, and this is where Holger went, and I think you can see perhaps the design element coming into play
Yes.
there on how you are physically going to make it, to work out how to get round those corners and cracks. And he came up with this idea of these strips,
Right, that was a neat idea
wasn't it?
because everyone could just crack on with this a cohesive approach that would come together in the end.
It was
Wasn't there something about there was a question mark about how it was all stitched together?
yeah, I think in the judging they said it was a bit messy with it stitched together, but I'm looking at that
I mean,
there and it
give
looks
them a
stunning.
break. I think it's a neat idea because everyone can crack on with a stripe and they're all singing from the same hymn sheet.
Absolutely.
I think the fade idea is really great. It doesn't look like a dog's dinner. As far as I felt Tom was a bit mean when he said, I can't remember the exact words, but he implied this was a bit more basic. And I just think,
Yes, yeah.
actually, you know what? You don't have to be all colours of everything for it to be a really kind of nice.
Well, I think the judges had that conversation when trying to choose. Di was saying this is wow, but it's not wow wow as an amazing wow, but
Yes.
it ultimately fits the criteria. Really, what I like about it is the clever idea of the mould using two strands on
Yes.
each of those, and then the solid of the cable. Isn't that just
Yes.
ingenious?
Well, it's just and that's a really neat design solution, because it's not it's just there's a logic to it. There's a sequence of, there's a continuity, there's a cohesiveness, and then yeah, it's the classic sort of fade technique, isn't it?
I'd love that on my
Across.
settee, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't
Different.
know if I'd knit myself a sofa cover, but I would definitely have. It's probably something I'd have a go at. Not in chunky, but
It's
um,
it's a clever way of working together as a team
yes,
and being
exactly.
able to create something and that's it's going to be interesting to see how these team challenges differ, or whether they learn that as you stay in longer, right? That's going to be a thing to think about in the future, is actually we can't just go off randomly, make separate things and then suddenly bring it together. Actually the construction almost has
Yes,
to be thought of first.
yes. I think whatever they did, that team, Holger had sort of put that idea forward, and I think it really works when they all sort of take ownership over the finished thing. And I wonder if the sunset one, Isaac had this sort of compelling, lovely, typically Isaac. I mean, what we've seen him for like 2 seconds on telly, but he seems like such a sweetie.
Yeah.
And you sort of want to get behind his lovely romantic idea of a sunset, and yet it would have taken Like, why was he left alone to do all that intarsia
Yes.
work across the
Yeah.
massive whole back of the
Yeah.
sofa? And why couldn't somebody sort of step forward and say, look, you're going to struggle. Let me take that bit. And I think, but then let's remember it's week
We,
one and everyone's probably really nervous.
yeah.
We knit on our own. When has anyone ever done a team knit before?
Yeah. Oh God.
It's like,
Very rare.
crikey, it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And to put your ideas, like putting your ideas out there in a team is really, really hard. And you really have to get over the sense of something being a stupid idea. You just have to throw yourself in. This is where I think something like Sewing Bee Transformation Challenge, you have to just bowl in and like no ideas off the table, just pile it all in, and you have to sort of commit and go for it. And I think with these team challenges, my sense is it's the same. You have to not be bashful about throwing an idea in. And what I'm hoping we might see a bit more of as the weeks go by is a sort of generosity to hold one another in those moments of like, come on, everyone, throw your ideas in. We're only going to make this work if you
Yes.
all. But actually, it's really hard because if people aren't used to doing that, that's where, following a pattern is one thing, but when you're trying to come up with your own design ideas, that's really, I know you've not done it before, especially not done it in a team or on telly. That's it's quite a clever challenge, but I
Yes.
just wish there was a way
Yeah.
to, what's the word, appraise it,
Yeah.
in I don't know, in a slightly more meaningful way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Can we just take a moment for the feet covers?
Yes.
Just slip balls of wool onto the
That
bottom.
yes, that one was just chuck a ball of wool at the side, and this
Yes,
one they were beautifully covered, weren't they? Yeah.
I know. Oh, it's funny though, isn't it? I hope over the weeks that that sort of challenge could be something where you get to see the people's growth as a designer or
Yeah.
knitter or whatever. And that's I think maybe with this show, perhaps more than the others, we will get to sort of fall in love with the characters and their own relationships with each other as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
in those team challenges, it will be a case of like last night, was it was either Simon or Gordon that put their arm round Holger because
Oh
he was
yes.
having
They
sort
just
of I
finished.
can't bear chunky
Oh
moment.
yes,
And it
yes.
was really
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah. And that is
It was,
nice to see that, isn't it? In those team
yeah.
challenges, the bit more relaxed. And then of course, when they saw the other team not finishing, they went, should we go over and help? And it's like, well, yeah, this is proper sportsmanship here. They're even though they're in a competition, they're watching people struggle, and that's never nice to watch, is it? It's never good TV when you're seeing people upset, close to failure, and then they just went, "Do you know what? Go on, let's go and help them."
Yeah, it's
And
all good. It's
yeah,
all, and that's how lots of these shows end up. There's a really, actually, mostly, you find that's lovely, supportive. It's not really
yeah,
about the competition. When push comes to shove, it's about, the fact that we're all doing these things because we love to do them, and you know, it's about sort of healthiness and yeah. But
so we have to get to the end of the program,
we
and what
do.
are they going to do? How similar is it going to be to Sewing Bee, to Bake Off? Well, it does follow that format. We have a big knitter of the week, they're calling it, and they gave it to Elsa. And I'm guessing it seemed to be, they didn't say, I don't think they said why, but I think we guessed it was because of the tank top. They showed an image of the tank top. Maybe Big Knitter of the Week can be because of the team challenge. Who knows yet? We're only on episode 1. We'll see as it develops who gets Big Knitter of the Week and for what for. And she got it. And what they get is if I, where is it? If I move this, look. They get a they get a sheep badge.
Oh,
I thought
little
that
woolly
was kind of
badge.
cute.
It's very sweet.
And
Do you
kind
think
of
gets passed around, or do you think by the end everyone
no,
will have had one?
I think it will be like RuPaul's Drag Race, where they get a blue, like a blue Peter badge, which is what they get. And the more rounds you win, the longer you stay in, potentially the more RuPaul badges you can win. And I think that will be the
So
case for this.
you could end up with a flock of
Yeah,
sheep
yeah. So
by the
just
end.
imagine if we think back to this series of Sewing Bee with Kit winning all those pattern challenges. Just imagine how many badges he would have had.
Yeah.
So I think
Oh,
that will be definitely. I think yeah, you get a badge if you get Big Knitter. So how many badges are people going to win? And yes, we have to say goodbye to someone. They said it right at the beginning. They're going to cast off someone at the end of each show. I didn't know if they were going to cast off someone for week one. We often say that with a sewing bee. It would be nice if they didn't do that. It gives you as a sewer, as a participant, maybe it would be a bit more relaxing doing episode one. But we had to say goodbye to Gordon.
oh,
Ah,
bless him. But he went with good humour and he. I think we probably won't forget him in a hurry, will we?
no. There have been some controversy online already where people have said it shouldn't have been Gordon, should have been someone else.
Oh, why?
But just because I think, you said about Dipty's pullover, tank top not
Yeah.
going over the head not being properly finished, that may have been her. But that's the
Well,
beauty.
it was between them, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, but that's the beauty of these
Um,
programs. You get attached to them, and you then get upset when the judges send the person who you like home, and that then creates
yeah,
discussion, doesn't it? Which
yeah.
which is the whole point of doing this show, and it creates discussion. So please do get involved with the discussion. I think we've always said right from the beginning, even with our Sewing Bee shows with Ting, we love talking about it and doing this show. For many people, they may not have knitting friends local, they may not have sewing friends local. So having a place on YouTube to meet like-minded people with the same crafts feels like you are chatting with your friend, and that's really important, and it's good to do. So we do welcome discussion, and it's free speech in this world. You can give us your opinions. You are allowed to say your opinions, but there is obviously a way of saying your opinions and wording it. Wouldn't you agree, Lizzie?
Yes, with a consideration for the people we're talking about, and just to be respectful
Yeah.
and have some compassion as well. It's a hard, it's a really hard thing that they're putting themselves through for our benefit. So, let's have some empathy
Yeah.
and compassion all round.
But we do love hearing what you think. What was your favourite knit? Did you think someone else should have gone home and Gordon should have stayed? What do you think of it? Let us know. And then we'll have some of the comments on next week's show too. And we know the whole time limit. Let's try and ignore time. It is a completely different show. We know knitting is a slow form, a slow art form. We know we do it to relax, but this is television, and it's a different conversation, I think, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
celebrating skills, celebrating talent, celebrating the world of wool. And I know it may be not your cup of tea. People may not enjoy the show, but let's have that debate in the comments too, and maybe see what we think is going to happen over the next couple of weeks.
Well, also, especially for example, something like what we've seen this week, chunky knitting fair isle. I mean, it might not be your cup of tea if you're really into Fair Isle. The refinement of it and the small stitches is all part of it's the whole point really. But I was learning things,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
it's really great. So what did you learn that you didn't know before? What did you learn watching this? And might you be trying something out that you learned or that you haven't thought of before?
Absolutely.
Tell us. Let us know in the
Yeah,
comments.
absolutely. And of course, oh, that's the wrong slide. I want to go to the end slide. This,
Bye, Gordon.
this one. Try and support your local yarn shop too. I know Rowan have released some patterns online direct from them, but try and perhaps go and find your local yarn shop. Hopefully over the coming 8 weeks, I'll be doing trips round to visit other yarn shops and have another show where I speak to yarn shop owners, which will be great, Lizzie, won't it?
It's lovely.
Will be really nice. And if you're unsure of chunky, or if you're unsure of a different weight yarn, go and find your local yarn shop like me, and they can give you a world of information.
Absolutely.
And then next week, we've got some prizes to give away starting from next week, haven't we? Loads of prizes, and we'll be using comments for that, and we'll be thinking of other ways of giving out prizes, all thanks to Katia, who have got involved with us, which is wonderful. Yarn companies working with knitting people, it's just brilliant. Well, there we are, Lizzie, episode 1 done.
I think I need to go and have a lie down.
Absolutely. Or as
and a digestive biscuit.
As Stephanie says, go and have a cup of tea.
Go and have a cup of tea.
Indeed. Cheers. See you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.